Everyone, welcome to our session. Today we're going to go through the Google Stack and integration to Asana. I'm just going to wait a few minutes for everyone to arrive. I can see some people, some of our customers joining in that are on the Microsoft Stack. I just want to let you know that what we're going to cover today might not be of a lot of interest. If you don't use Google Gmail, Google Calendar, and Google Drive, so just for your information, what we are covering today is really for companies who are using the Google Stack. Thank you. I just wait 5 minutes for everyone to arrive. Hello, everyone. I'm just Tracy. Thank you very much for logging in. And I understand you have to attend to another meeting. I'll just repeat what I mentioned before. This is for customers who use Google Mail, Google Calendar, Google Drive. I know that you guys are on Microsoft, so you might not be interested in this session at all. But you're very welcome to join in and spend some time. We always love to have you. All right, we are about 5 minutes into the session, so I am going to start the presentation. I would just mention before we jump in, this session might be shorter than the one we usually have because the content is smaller. And we're going to do it in a bit less formatted version. So usually I have a presentation and we'll go to the presentation. Today we're going to use the website of Asana as a tool to support our presentation. And the format of our presentation is going to be a little bit less formal, but it's just adapting to the situation and the subject we're covering. So I'd just like to welcome everyone in the session. We have today Leonie, welcome Leonie, and we have Reynolds and Tash. So thank you everyone for joining. We are a small number today, so feel free to interact, speak, ask questions. Don't be scared. There is no bad question, and we're always happy to answer. I also will add for anyone who is not in the session today but registered, There will be a recording sent to you, so you'll be able to have a look at the information later on. Now, we are covering today the integration between Asana and Google. The integration between those two tools is going to help improve your productivity. So, as you know, we are using Asana as a work management tool. A work management tool will help us to do project management, task management, and collaborate together. Now, when we are collaborating together, we work today a lot in the cloud. And when we work in the cloud, most of our applications are also online on other servers somewhere in the cloud. Now, the benefits of Asana is the ability to add integration to those systems, because when we integrate, we'll be able to do the work faster. So I'll give you an example of Google. We are able to use Google to share a calendar invite. And so therefore we can integrate the calendar to Asana. We don't have to copy the information, and we can share a schedule of a project to someone who doesn't have Asana. So if we look at Asana as a whole in terms of integration, the very first thing I would say is think about how your workers, people who work in your organization, can leverage Asana as a tool to do the work they are doing in the project. Because the objective we want to have is we want to have people doing the work in Asana. If we don't do that, people will be doing the work outside of Asana and will use Asana as a reporting tool. It is to some extent the case to some tasks, but generally speaking, what we want to do is have Asana as the place where we work. And it should therefore replace our inbox. It should therefore replace, in some ways, our messengers, not for everything. It should be where we do the job. It replaces the coffee machine. Instead of having a coffee machine time and talking, we will be talking there. Now, if you want to look at all the integration that Asana provides, you can go to the Asana website. In the features section, there's app integration. And when you click on app integration, you will see hundreds of tools that are available for integration. You can click browse the apps here, and you will have access to all the Google integration, as well as any other integration that you can consider for your Asana. Okay, so have a look there. It's always a great place to start, and there's tons of little plugins. They are all free. They can only be deployed or 99% by the end users. So feel free to have a look here and see if there's something that's interesting. I'm going to go back to the integration to Google now. And look, again, I don't think this presentation will take an hour. We probably will close it within 20, 30 minutes. But there's a lot of good points with Google. We covered in the previous session the integration between Asana and Microsoft. And Asana and Microsoft are two very strong tools, but it's quite different to what we can do with Google. Google offers more flexibility in terms of integration. Also, the scope is a bit smaller. So the first thing we do normally when we log into Asana is we will have a login place. And when we log in, we have the ability to either use our login functionality, or we have the ability to use here what we call Google SSO. Google SSO means that when you arrive on the login page of Asana here, you have the ability to log in with Google instead of your email address. So I can click on the Google here to show me the different accounts I have on Google. I have too many, and I can select my account and I'll be able to log into that. Now, the integration between Google and Asana in terms of SSO is similar to what you will have on Facebook. It is not a full SSO system. What is an SSO system? An SSO system is a place where you will manage the cohort of people in your organization. So all the users, and to the users in your organization, you will attach them a license, you will give them a profile, and when someone joins the organization, you can say, "Tuck, it is a production person, therefore they have access to Microsoft Office, Asana, and another tool. It's a salesperson, they have access to Salesforce, maybe Asana as well, another tool." The integration between Google and Asana is not as strong, but it is also a lot easier to set up. So when you integrate Google with Asana, you will be able to connect the two systems. And essentially what that does is you won't have to input your username and password anymore. But you won't have a full management of licenses from Google. And an SSO system normally will say, I'm adding Martin as a salesperson, therefore he has access to those licenses. It will provision the license, it will buy the license, it will create the user, etc. It doesn't do that with Google. And the same way a normal SSO system will say Martin's left the company, it will remove the access for Martin to all these applications and delete the user. It doesn't do that with Google. So the benefit of the Google integration, it is very fast to set up. You just click Google, click continue with Google, and you will be able to use your Google account. When you do that, if the emails that you have on your Google account matches the email that you have on your Asana account, it's going to match automatically, and you will be able to use your Google integration to log in. So you don't have any other configuration to do. However, people cannot be managed, and the license cannot be managed directly on your Google. So what happens is, in this case, we would recommend to use Asana as an organization, which is for the customer we have on the call is already the case. And so what happens is you will have the ability for any person who joins Asana. So when somebody creates an account on Asana with an email address that use your domain, they will automatically be added to your instance, and they will automatically be able to use Google Drive. So again, as a summary, Google offers SSO, so single sign-on through Google. This is not as strong as what you would have with a full SAML, so a full user management solution such as Microsoft, but it is a lot lighter and a lot easier to use. To use the integration between Asana and Google, you will simply need the users to go on the Asana website and click login or create a user. So when they go to asana.com, they will go here, they will click get started, and they will either continue with Google, that works as well, or they can sign up with their email address. In both cases, it's going to create a new user and add them to your instance. There will be no control on that as long as they use the same domain as your company. And once this is done, they can simply use Asana by going to the login page and click continue with Google, and then they will be able to choose their users incoming. That also means that in terms of management of users, your administrator, if you're an administrator on the solution, will still be using up here the admin console to manage the users. So the management of users will remain in the administration console, and you will come here, go to members, and this is where you'll be managing your users, and you will be able to either remove a user or invite a user. Again, people don't need to receive an invite to join the organization. They can just create an account online, but you can also invite. So that is the very first integration that we are reviewing on the Asana workspace, the SSO. Simply because it is the work we are doing, the first thing we're doing, we're logging in. The second most common integration between Asana and Google will be the integration with Google Drive. Typically what happens, and I'm going to go here and just take, this is the work I do with my assistant, for example. I can take here, create a task.
Antes,
Yes,
amanhã, né?
yes, Nep,
Huh?
hello Nep, we can see you. I'm going to mute you because we have a lot of other people in the conference. So I'm creating a task here. When I have a task created, I have the ability to attach files. Now, you can attach files from different places. In my case, in the case of our company, we use Google. So I have restricted the ability for people to attach files to only their computer and Google Drive. And if I use Google Drive, it's going to ask me to log into the Google Drive, and then I can attach files from my Google Drive. There's not more setup than that. Everything with Google is quite straightforward. Now I see my Google Drive, I can see different files, I can share files, and if I take up this example here, there's nothing in there. If I go back to others, it doesn't work too well. Here we go. That's the presentation from yesterday. I can take a file here and I can attach it to my task. Now there's a big advantage to attaching files from your Google Drive into your Asana. First of all, we can see that the file is here and it comes from Google Drive. The number one advantage is you'll be able to edit it directly from here. So I can click and I will edit it online through my Google Drive edit. So here it's open with Google Slide and I can start modifying it. So I don't need to download it and look at it to modify it. The second benefit here is going to be that this file here, any modification I do, either here through editing or someone else on the Google Drive, will reflect on that file. So if you have a document and you have versioning problem because multiple people edit it, send a new version, another version, and you get lost into versions, then using Google Drive is also a very good solution. There's another aspect to it, which is security. Your organization might restrict export of files, or you might want to have all the files stored into a secure drive. If that's the case, you can restrict, as we've done here, the usage to only use Google Drive. In that case, people can continue working within Asana with Google Drive without taking files out of your organization, especially if they're sensitive. It also saves space in terms of download and upload. Now, we've covered all this. You can do it here. You can also do it directly from when you are on your text and you open media, you attach media and videos, you can use that link to Google Drive. To modify the profile and enable people to only use Google Drive, again, you will go to your admin console and you will go to your security settings and you will be able somewhere here file attachments options. You're able to go here and define which file attachment options are available. And you can then restrict it to only Google Drive so that people can only use Google Drive if you want. That's a security settings you might want to set up. It also reduces the number of options on the interface here so that people don't get lost. So typically, this file that you've uploaded here will also be available on the project's list of files. You'll also see it here. So on every project in Asana, you can see the files you've uploaded in one place. So that is the second integration that we have with Google. If I go back to Asana for Google, we have covered the SSO. And again, for the ones who arrived a bit late today, NEP or other people that have joined later, we have more people now, you will receive a recording of this event, which will show you everything we have done today. The second integration will be the Gmail integration. This is a very useful one. So historically, in Asana, we had integration with Gmail, and what it was I'm going to go to my emails. And I'm going to have a look at, I'll show you my email. I have installed the Asana plugin. So I can click on the Asana plugin. When I do that, I can take an email. Not this one. I get an invitation from whoever to do whatever. I can take that email and I can then attach this into Asana. So I'm first going to have to log into Asana. The first time I use it. As usual, I have to grant it permission to my emails. This can be done by your end user. However, if you're in a large organization, it might be restricted at an admin level. So your admin might have to allow you to connect Asana to your emails. Again, if at the end of this session you have any questions we haven't answered, or if there is anything more you want to know, we have on the call Amy, who is our event manager, and she'll be able to help you. Or we have Marek, who is our support manager. You can write an email to support@platinumpartner.com.au, and he will be able to help you with any questions you have following up on this presentation. So I'm setting up at the moment the integration. Sometimes it takes a few clicks. There we go. And I could continue. Now I'm all set. And when I go back to my email, I could log in again. The first time it does a bit of back and forth like that. To refresh, see if that works better. There we go. My integration is set, and now I can take this email I have, and I can do two things. I can create a task from it, and we have this very new function, which is really cool, I really like, is you're going to be able to sync the mail trail with a task. So if I click that option, then every time someone's going to reply that email, the conversation is going to be added to the task as a new comment. It has the benefits of you can continue a conversation outside of Asana and keep the ticket or the task in Asana updated with conversation you have by email. So that's pretty cool. You can also make this task public, by the way. So I can create a task. If I do that, it's going to add a task to Asana, assign it to me. And I have the sync here. I can post a comment. I can mark the task as complete, or I can see the task in Asana. So I'm going to mark the task as complete because I don't really want to see this one later. But from an email you receive, you are able to create a task in your Asana and then start taking actions from there. The other options you will have is the ability to take a task in Asana and search a task. We're going to take the same. You are invited. And to search for my project. And I'm going to be able to add to this task the content of my email. I can now add a comment on that task. So I can cut and paste, for example, some of the text I had here, and I can comment on the specific task from the information I had from that email. I can also mark the task as completed or not. Okay, so two actions possible. One, create a task, and one to actually add comments to the task from the email. And now the key functionality that we see in Asana is really this ability to have a sync between your emails and the task, so that when you have different actions taken by email, so conversation email, that will actually continue updating. Andrew, I'm going to mute you if you don't mind, because there's a few noise coming out. But feel free to unmute you when you have a question. When we have updates on this task, we'll be able to see those updates in Asana directly. So that's the first use of Gmail. There's a new functionality that was added very recently, which is the ability, and this is very useful in case if you have people interacting with Asana that don't have a user account. We can now send emails using your Gmail from Asana. The most common use case we found so far is a ticketing system. So I have, say here, we have one for, I think we have one for leave request somewhere. Okay. So in our organization, we have a leave request form, and people are able to ask to leave. Now, in our organization, everyone has access to Asana, or you're an Asana company, but it might not be the case in your organization. So what happens is on that leave form, people will request for leave, and then that will be submitted to our Asana, and we're then gonna have a process to approve that leave and move forward. But imagine some of the people that submit this request don't have access to Asana. In your company, that could be used like an IT ticketing system, or people request support. Your marketing team providing a tool where people can request new assets to be created, or your finance team where you can submit a request for a purchase order. Now, when you do that, the person that use this request form don't always have access to Asana, but now with this new functionality, we're going to be able to have a rule. For the one who don't know rules are automation within Asana. When something happens, do something. Those rules can be based on anything, and you can also develop them within the workflow that allows you to actually have a rule attached to a specific section, so a specific stage of your process. And let's say that now when the leave is approved, I want to send an email to that person. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say more actions, custom action. And I'm using the new version of the automation from Asana here. I say do this. So when the task is moved to leave approved, I want to go to external action, send an email. And we are now going to be able to connect our Gmail to Asana a second time, but this time the other way around. Instead of Asana, Gmail pushing to Asana, we're now going to use Asana to send emails. And so from what we are doing, it takes a bit of time. Pick this here. From what we are doing, we're going to be able to send a notification from Asana to someone specific in the organization to notify them about something. Very powerful as well. And again, the main use case is when you have people that use Asana or use the form, but don't have access to Asana. So we're going to be able to put an email address here, a reply to, a subject, and a body. Now, there are some limitations to this tool. As you can see, this is all static. So I can say Martin, but it's not going to be a dynamic user. So I will have to hard code to who the notification is sent. I have to use a specific way to find who it is sent to. And the subject and the body are also fixed. So you don't have any dynamic information being sent into this. However, it is very useful when you want to send notification outside of Asana using Gmail. It does a great job. And the integration to the automation makes it even more powerful. Voilà. In terms of integration to Gmail, those are the two key elements you have. So as a summary, you have the ability in your Gmail here to connect Asana, and from there, take an email, create a thread, so create a task, and have all the updates on that email thread to come as updates on your task. Very powerful. To take an email and actually attach the content of the email to an existing task. And you also have this ability within your Asana to attach, to send an email directly from a workflow that you've created by connecting Asana to your Gmail, with the limitation that most of what you do will be static, so you won't have the ability to have dynamic email recipients or the ability to generate dynamic emails. Now, I always remind it to everyone, when we work with you guys, we are able to extend every integration and automation capabilities of Asana. So we do have plugins that enables you to go over and beyond the integration of Gmail that I mentioned now. If you are in a case where you need to send emails with dynamic informations, we are able to help you with that. Please contact me after the sessions and we'll provide you with some solutions that we can have. Same thing, we can also extend the integration to Google email so that we can, for example, read the mailbox and always create tasks from it automatically, or parse emails and extract information, or mass emails from Gmail. Anything you think about, we are able to do. Another very common use case we have is when a new project is created, to go to your Google Drive and automatically create a folder with a set of subfolders to keep things organized between your folders in your Google Drive and your files in Asana. But sky's the limit. You can really do anything you guys want with integration. I'm just giving you a few ideas. Now, we're going to the different aspects of Asana, and Asana for Google, we've covered the single sign-on, we've covered the Google Drive, we've covered the Gmail. Now the next one we're going to have a look is Google Calendar. So when do you want to use Google Calendar integration? Well, there are two cases. It's a bit like the Gmail integration. The first one is on any of your projects, you can always go on the top and click Export to Calendar. What that does, sorry for that. What that does is it creates a link for Google Calendar here that you can give to anyone. And then people can add it to their calendar. For example, in our organization, I do have my Google Calendar, which you're going to see I'm pretty loaded. And on my Google Calendar, I have a calendar from Asana support events, our session now. Now I click it, it adds all our section, all our events here in my calendar so I don't miss them. Now, in your case, you might have different ideas about how to use this Google Calendar. The standard use case would be, I am a marketing team and I have events. I want to share the list of events and dates with someone else. I have many projects and I want to share a list of all the milestones to my management on a calendar because they don't go to Asana and they want to have that in their calendar. Also the case. You can come up with any use case you want. There's no need for a license. Someone that uses this Google Calendar link doesn't need to have an Asana license, and it will stay updated. So when you move the dates of your items in your task in Asana, it will reflect on your Google Calendar as well. Now, this is all nice, but it's one way. So it's from Google, from Asana to Google. Now, how do we actually take a task in Asana and make it a Google event? So we are able, to go back to our Asana. There we go. And I'm able to go here and I'm going to add a new plugin. So when I add a new plugin, I go to install apps and I'm going to add the Google Calendar. Similar to the Google Gmail, when I add calendar and add to a project, I'm going to connect Google Calendar. And similar to a Gmail functionality, when something happens into a task, we are now able to create a new calendar invite in our Asana, or in our Google, sorry, from Asana. So I've added the functionality here. I'm connecting to my account. Again, all this can be done as an end user, but sometimes your administrator can restrict the access. So if you have problems, contact your administrator. And if you have questions, contact us and we'll help you. Now let's say that when the lead is approved, I want to add another functionality. I'm going to go to workflow. Let's say when the lead is approved, I want to add an app action with Google Calendar, create a Google event. When the task section is moved to leave approved, again, those trigger points can differ. You can have different things. It doesn't need to be a move to a section. Add to a calendar. Which one do I want to add it to? The location and the event. So every time, so this is a plugin I have. And we can also invite the people that are guests, so collaborators on that task to that event. What use case could it be? Well, there's a very good use case where you have in Asana the ability to create meetings on a regular basis within Asana. So if I create a project and I call it weekly meetings, for my sales team, I want to say every, there's a section I want to task. And I'm going to set that meeting as recurring. Set it to myself. I say it's going to be every Friday. Weekly, every Friday. And now I'm going to add the ability to that project to have Google Calendar. And now I'm going to be able to create, we don't really need a section. Up, the section. I'm on weekly meeting, it's scheduled every week. And I'm going to say on creation. So when the task the weekly meeting is created, I'm going to invite to that meeting my sales team. I'm going to add, say, Amy. Up. So every time I create that event, I'm going to add a calendar event. I'm going to set it to, sorry, I've got too many calendars. Martin. Calendar week, choose event. So this is enabling me to actually attach this task to an existing event. That's not what I want. I'm going to go to workflows, and I'm going to say when a task is created, rules when a task is created, when a task is added to the project, check if, no check. Do this, external action, create an event, calendar, my calendar, the location, each hour, weekly catch-up. And I invite collaboration to the task. I publish the rule. And now if I go back to my weekly meetings, I have this weekly meeting, this one for this one, it didn't run because I didn't have the task set up, the rule set up. But because it's a recurring meeting, at the moment I will complete it, it's going to create the next weekly meeting. So now when I do that, it's creating the next weekly meeting, and automatically it has created an event in Google Calendar, and it has added Amy to that event in Google Calendar. So that runs in the background, we don't see it here. In a few moments, in Amy's calendar and in my calendar, we have that event popping up for the 22nd of March. So that's a very nice way to actually set up your weekly meeting and have events popping up in calendars of everyone if you wanted to. That's one of the options. We can use this functionality for different and other functionalities in Asana. But that's a nice way to do it. Now, coming back to our Asana Google Calendar here. By the way, I'm going to stop a second. Does anyone have any question? Because I speak all the time, but do you guys have any question? No? So the next functionalities we have are going to be the Google Docs, Sheet, and Slides. Those ones I'm not going to demonstrate really in details because it's super simple. There is two options. The one we've already seen is here. We have the ability to attach a file from Google Drive, and then we can open it directly in Google. The second option, which I personally find limited usage, so I go back to it. If we look at the Google Doc, we also have the ability to tag a task of Asana in a documentation. So you can have a document that you write. You can also use the Gemini AI of Google to write the document now, which is really cool. But in your document, you can refer to a task in Asana, which makes it more interactive. If you want, you can say, "Hey, we need to make a project status meeting, or next task document, or whatever, or proposal to a customer. Refer to that task, and then you can tag the task of Asana directly in your document." Well, I personally find limited interest to that, but it could be interesting in some case. Same thing appears. Sorry, not in Google Sheet. We'll come back to that. Same thing for Google Slide. You can refer your slides to a specific project or task directly into the slide. So find that quite limited, but you can always find information. The Google Chat itself is interesting because it's going to enable us to do notification. So in a similar fashion that we worked on our weekly meeting here, and we said workflow, we're going to create rules, we're going to create an event in the calendar. Now we're going to be able to go to chat. Oops, go chat. I need to find it. I apologize. They need to install it. I don't have. Sorry. We don't use Google Chat internally, so you need to install it as well on your app. We have deactivated it. That's why it doesn't work. But in a similar fashion, you can actually have a message sent to someone in specific case with the automation. Now, what are the use case for that? Well, we have different cases, and it comes back to which tool do we use to which communication. In Asana, you have a place where you store all your task information. Typically, we use Asana for everything that's related to the job, so we can discuss and work together on the task and resolve it. Everything that's internal or everything that's related to a task. When we want more advanced or more instant notifications, more active notifications, there's an alert, there's a problem, requires our attention, then it is really useful to use tools like Zoom, like Team, or like Google Chat. And so using workflows to have an alert sent on Google Chat when something is going wrong is a very good way to get quick action. Emails is typically used for external formal communication when people are not interacting with Asana. So our customers will interact with Asana, but sometimes in sales processes or discussions, we don't use Asana, so we'll use emails. So we usually have three types of communication: Asana for project and task internally, chat for external tools and communication, and then emails for more formal communication. And so the integration with Gchat is interesting if you activated it to your organization. We haven't, and it's not a very common tool, but if you do use it, it can help you. Now, last one is going to be the integration with not Google Chat, but with Google Sheet. So I don't cover Google Form because I can cover it quickly. I'll go back to it later, but it has very limited interest because Asana has forms and they work very well. So this actually is more of a downgrade. But the Google Sheet is interesting because you can basically synchronize a sheet with Asana. So if you go to your Asana, and again, you go to customize, and you go to apps, and you say add an app, and you go back to Google. You have Google Sheets. If you set it up, what's going to happen is you can connect a task to a specific, Google Sheet, a project to a specific Google Sheet, and then automatically all the tasks of this project are going to be pushed to an Excel spreadsheet. It goes only one way, but it has the benefits of enabling you to export all the tasks and the custom fields to an Excel spreadsheet. The second, which we see here on my screen, is the ability here to refer within an Excel spreadsheet to an Asana task. Personally, I don't see a lot of benefits to that. But it's the second option. So two options. Once you've installed this, is the ability to export project data, list of tasks, really it's raw data, to a Google Sheet. And the second one is going to be able to mention a task or project within Google Sheet, directly pointing to Asana. All right. So if I go back to Asana here, the subject of our session today, and I thought it would be a bit shorter, we took still 45 minutes without questions, was to cover Google integration, Google Stack integration with Asana. What we've seen is the ability to integrate with SSO. And again, everything in this session has been recorded. You're going to receive a record. So if you've missed the beginning of the session, you can see that again. Integration with SSO enables us to connect Google and stop having to put our username and password, but we still have the management of user in Asana. Second one we've seen is Google Drive with the ability to attach files from Google Drive in Asana and restrict the attachment of files to be only Google Drive, for example, for security reasons or for other reasons, and with the benefits of being able to open the file directly in Asana and have only one version of the file. The Gmail integration, we've seen the ability to take an email and create a task from it, then have all subsequent emails coming into our mailbox automatically logged on our task, so that when there's conversation on the email, it comes on our task, very useful one. Google, and we've also seen the ability to send an email using workflows on Asana, leveraging the Gmail experience. On Google Calendar, we have the ability to export a project task list into a link that can be attached to a Google Calendar, where people can actually see the schedule of our projects directly in their calendar, with the ability for people who don't have Asana to follow up on deadlines and delivery dates of the project. We've also seen the ability to export a calendar, to create a calendar event directly from a task in Asana using workflows. Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets, we've seen the ability to use those tools to actually, in the file, refer to a task in Asana. with the advantage it has. And Google Sheets, we've seen especially the ability to export a project into Google Excel spreadsheet. Google Chat can be used for alerts and for specific events to notify the team or notify a chat group that something urgent has happened. And finally, Google Form, which we haven't really covered, enables you, using an external tool, which is paid for, by the way, to take the information in Google Form and push it into Asana, which honestly, I would recommend not to do that and to use the standard form functionalities of Asana, which does a very good job. But if you wanted to, you can use Trade.io or Make.com or Zapier to do this sort of thing. Voilà, that is all that we were covering today. Again, as a reminder, you are free to submit to contact me after. Thank you, Amy. Amy has posted the next webinar that we have with our next week, our first workflow. On 28th, our 5 favorite apps for Asana. Those are the last of our webinars. If you have more questions, feel free to either email Amy to get some information or contact me for maybe some consulting or some work, or email our support if you're one of our customers to explore how to actually set up one of those tools. The address is support@platinumpartner.com.au, and Marik, who's in the call, will be able to help you. Now, finally, I will just conclude because I see a few people here are not our customers, actually. If you are interested into, we do provide what we call managed services, which means that you have access to all these sessions that we run today, and you will be able to join those sessions and get trainings for your team and learn more about Asana. If you're interested in that, please reach out to Amy as well. I will be able to provide you some information. The benefits of those sessions is really user adoptions and leveraging your licenses more, so getting more value out of your licenses. That's where I stop. Can I ask if anyone has any question? I haven't had a lot of interactions today.
Hi, Martin. Nep here.
Hello. Hello, Neb.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Sorry I was late. I didn't capture about the Google Forms. I have a question on Google Forms. Can the Google Forms be the trigger to create a task in Asana, like Asana Forms?
So yes, but we've seen at the end of the presentation, we didn't cover it earlier, actually. I didn't go into too much details with Google Forms. It is a connector, external. So will you be using an external connector to go and check at regular interval if any new submission happened to your form, and then we can create a task in Asana from it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you, yeah.
Can you confirm that only Asana users can use Asana Forms, right? Only
No, external users that don't have Asana can also use Asana Forms.
Oh, okay. So if they don't have the Asana account, they can still open an Asana form.
Totally. And that's why we see limited benefits in using Google Forms, unless you already have a lot of Google Forms that you want to integrate to Asana.
Okay, I see. Thank
The
you.
benefits, my pleasure. The benefits of using the Google Forms without the Asana Forms instead of the Google Forms is that all the integrity of data. So if you have custom fields defined in Asana with custom values, that's going to stay in sync with your form. If you change the value, if you do it in Google Drive, then you will have to constantly manage both to make sure that the two systems works the same.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else? Any other question? Well, if not, I will thank you everyone for joining today. And again, if you want to have access, you will receive a copy of the video and the transcript today. Can we have a copy of the recording? Yes, Property, you will have a copy of the recording. You will receive that by email. Just after maybe a few hours after this meeting, when the recording is available and has been checked, we will be sending you a copy of the recording. If I don't have any other questions, guys, I would just leave it to you today, and I'm going to wish you a great day. Don't forget, next week we'll be covering my first workflow, and we'll be covering the week after the 5 best app of Asana, which is a very interesting session. after the end of this month, the sessions on our weekly sessions with more Asana will still be available, but only to manage support, manage services customers, only to our customers. Feel free to reach out if you're interested to know more about it. Thank you very much. You guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.